Hi, everyone. Today on I Think I Can Be Happier, we're talking with Archie Chiminayi, a neurodevelopmental specialist clinician with a deep commitment to supporting neurodivergent individuals.
Yeah, I met Archie at the CHADD ADHD conference in Baltimore in 2023, and we hit it off right away. And I was a guest on his podcast, ADHD Care, which he'll talk about. And he was on Focus Forward too. So, of course, I had to bring him on to I Think I Can Be Happier. He just always like has such thoughtful things to share. So, I'm so happy to bring him on today. But before we bring Archie on, can you guys help us out by giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen? It really helps us find people. You can also find us on YouTube too. So check us out. Hey, Archie. Thanks for coming on. I Think I Can Be Happier.
Thanks to you, Hannah, for inviting me, and to meet with
Yeah.
Amy as well. Nice to meet you, Amy.
Thank you, Archie. Welcome. So glad you're here today. Thank you.
I'm honored to be here and excited to talk about all things happiness.
I'm so glad, Archie, that you walked up to me with that mic at the CHADD conference.
Do you know what? I had a concept, right? I was doing the podcast, and I
Yeah.
thought, you know what? I'm going to big conference. I went on my own. I'm going to record a podcast. So I pushed myself. I was like, right, I'm going to do episodes whilst I'm there. I'm going to go into this big auditorial room, right, with my microphone and just interview people. I've never done anything like that before. Never. I think one was my nerves because I was so nervous. Like, gosh, I don't want to approach people; they might be rude to me. And two, I was thinking that the organizers might kick me out. Like, who are you? Go
Yeah.
away with your microphone. No, I just went in there. That's how I met Hannah. I was just literally just going around and just talking, and it just I get goosebumps when I play it back, and I'm like, gosh, I did this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
cool,
you did such a good job,
Archie.
and you're just you're such a natural, Archie. And
Yeah.
I remember seeing you,
Yeah.
and I was like, that is a person I need in my life. I
Oh.
just like got you just have this energy that is just like the best. So I immediately was like, yes, I want to talk on your podcast. I want to talk on your microphone. And then I know it's so
That
cute. And then we had the video of it too that like
with the
Justice
video.
took.
You remember the
Yeah.
wheel when I was spinning the wheel?
Yeah, that's right. And you kept getting the same thing.
I know. I mean, that is just like it's just how everything just went. We were laughing and just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So fun.
So
Yes.
yeah,
So Archie and I have been on each other's podcasts before. So of course I had to have you come on this new one. So thank you for doing this. Will you introduce yourself for our listeners and tell them just a little bit about you and what you're up to?
absolutely. I'm a clinical specialist. I'm based in the UK, so I work with neurodiverse individuals. So I am a clinician by background. So I do diagnostic assessments for autism, ADHD, and treatment as well. I run a private company. Which is called ADHD Care. I'm a podcast host for the podcast called the ADHD Care Podcast, where we discuss all things ADHD and other neurodiverse conditions as well, just to try and raise awareness in this fascinating field. And I'm a proud dad to a son with neurodiverse needs as well. My son, he's nearly 11. He's got autism and ADHD. And yeah,
What one thing I really love about your podcast is
Great.
that you get such big names on there. You have had some pretty big people. So if anybody's looking to learn more about ADHD and all the and neurodiversity and all the other related topics, ADHD Care podcast is a good one.
thanks, Hannah. Thanks for doing that little marketing.
Yeah. So, Archie, full disclosure, in preparation for talking with you today, I hadn't quite made the connection between you personally and the ADHD Care podcast until doing a little research and digging into it. And I told Hannah, I was like, "Oh, like I've listened to your podcast, and I remember the interview you did with Hannah." So, yeah, so that's
Uh,
great.
So today we are here to talk with Archie a little bit about parenting, a little bit about the experience of parenting and happiness, and a little bit about maybe some strategies or just sort of like ideas and thoughts around ADHD and happiness. So thanks so much for being here. So I was just wondering if you could share a little bit about how parenting has impacted you, especially parenting a child with needs greater than maybe a neurotypical child, and just kind of how that has impacted you as a parent.
It's one of those questions that it makes me stop and pause and reflect, because I feel in my work, being a clinician, supporting families and individuals with neurodiverse needs, I get into autopilot where I don't even realize to pause that I'm also in the same situation and same boat as them as well. So it's thought provoking to be asked that question, and it makes me want to reflect on my own, because no one usually asks me that. I think apart from when I've come to the podcast, or I might have a friend here and there who might just throw in that question in terms of how am I finding everything. But I think it's, as I said, it's a good way for me to pause and start to think about what's going well, what's been challenging, what are the ups and what are the downs throughout that whole journey. So, like what Hannah said there, my son, as I said earlier, he's got autism and ADHD. So raising a neurodiverse child is it's rewarding. It can be quite intense. We can't move away from that. There's moments where you feel I feel like I'm constantly advocating for him. You're supporting his emotional regulation. You're managing school challenges. There's sensory needs that can be causing some issues, sleep difficulties, and just to try and to get him to navigate through all the steps and challenges that get thrown at him in life, as particularly now, as I said, he's 11, he's getting to that pre-puberty stage as well, and you start to worry about how his future might look like. So it teaches you a lot. For me, I think personally, it's taught me about empathy. I've had to learn that in the moment. It taught me about being more flexible and how important it is to accept people for who they are rather than what society expects them to be. So naturally, I think when no one prepares you to have a child with neurodiverse needs, you are faced with it and you just have to learn as you go. So, and there's no rule book or manual that teaches you to raise a child, but certainly with a neurodiverse child, it's your expectation of what typically you would expect I mean, as a parent, to raise a child versus what society expects you to. So I found that battle can be a bit of a challenge, and I've seen it with family members as well, where they have their own expectation and they might look at how I'm parenting my son and feel, okay, why is he getting the preferential treatment or whatever it is? But so I mean, yeah, so it's all of that, trying to battle between the expectations of what society expects you to raise him and what it is in real life. So, I mean, those two worlds have been quite interchanging for me for the last 11 years. And every stage that he's gone through, it's been exciting. It brought some different challenges and exciting moments as well. But I mean, I just try and embrace it and just have the grace of just going with it and not to be too hard on myself, because I don't want to overjudge myself and think I'm a crap parent, or maybe I should have been too hard on him, or I think it teaches you that tomorrow's a new day. We start again, and kids don't hold grudges as well. As much as I could feel like I'm being too hard on him, tomorrow's a new day. You start on a clean slate, and that's just how I'm trying to be as a parent for him, and just be the best dad as I can be for him, really. We don't want to be hard on ourselves, and that's why I say to my families as well that are also in the same situation as I am, that it's a journey that they're going through, and sometimes acceptance plays a key part, because if you can't accept what you have, the gift that's given to you, it's going to be harder for you to support your child to navigate all through these challenges that we'll be talking about today. So yeah, and that's what we tend to teach parents, particularly at the start, making peace with what you have. I mean, if it's the individual themselves that have ADHD, it's about making peace with, "Oh, I've got ADHD. What does that mean for me?" In my case, it's okay, I've got a son with ADHD. What does that mean for me, and how's that going to play out?
So, Amy, you have a lot of experience supporting students who have behavior challenges. And in your experience, did you support parents as well?
Yes, I feel like that's a really important component there, is just supporting the parents and the entire family as much as possible. We can't do these things in isolation. Absolutely. It definitely takes like that partnership with the parents. So many parents wanting to know specific strategies on how they can support their child. Archie, I'm curious, just in terms of the work that you do, I know must have prepared you well, just as a parent. Was
Yeah.
there anything that, like, did you just come into parenting just kind of naturally feeling grounded and knowing what to do? Or was there anything that was helpful to you along the way?
Um, yeah, I think it's an interesting question because I think nothing prepared me because I think my life pre having my son, because he's the first one, I got two, he came obviously first. And if I think I was already working in this field for nearly 15 years before that, um, and I used to run parenting workshops and groups and things. And if I think back to what I used to advise parents through either one-to-one support or coaching or through group work, to what I was having to go through with my son. I mean, there are similarities to what I used to hear, but there was a clear difference in terms of like now I get what the parents. There's something
Yeah.
about connecting and understanding or walking someone's shoes compared to someone who's done a course or learned coaching or through
Yeah.
parenting courses and things. So to me, that was an eye opener where there was things I used to read about and I would say to parents and they'll look at me and go,
Sounds
Archie,
nice, but
obviously that's not going to work. So the theory part of it, I mean, it does play a part, and I get it why we have the researchers and they've done these programs, parenting programs and things. Yes, they do have a part to play, but there are certain situations through my own personal experience and having walked through the shoes where I've realized that it's in reality there is ways of it's not going to be as easy as how they put it. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's been really interesting. So I think it's changed my perception of not just what I advise and recommend to parents, but how I can empathize with them. I
Hmm.
feel I get it when I have a parent who's calling me and saying like, honestly, it's just a total nightmare. The weekend was just like we were struggling with this. We had to bring my son back. We took them to the park. They were having a meltdown and all of that because I had that. I witnessed it. So sometimes when I open up to some of my clients and I tell them about my journey with my son as well, and them hearing from a professional as well helps. That okay, you're not alone. At least the person I'm speaking to can relate and has. It's not just a professional capacity that they see me, and it's okay. Lived experience also helps. So yeah, I mean that's been really interesting since. I mean, since as I said, since I've had him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you so much for sharing that. So we all know that parenting is as wonderful as it is also brings just naturally many challenges. So Archie, I'm curious, just how did you care for your own needs and take care of your own mental health as a parent? Were there any strategies that you used to just for that support for yourself?
Mm. Um, I mean, I've had to learn that I can't support everyone
Yeah.
else whilst I'm completely neglecting myself. So that's something that a lot of parents, especially fathers like myself, we struggle with. I mean, for me, the biggest thing was creating that intentional space to just reset. Exercise really helps for me. I love music. I like listening to music. I love to go to watch live performance music. I'm trying to go into creative music as well. That's my other passion and hobby. Quiet times also helps. Even smaller things like stepping away from screens, devices, getting in touch with nature, going for walks, having that protective time as a family or for myself also helps. It really sort of makes a difference. Um, and also, I think what's key is to become much better at sort of recognizing when I start to feel overwhelmed, um, rather than just saying, "Okay, I'm just going to
Mhm.
push through it," which typically a lot of people do that, not just fathers, but actually adults. We tend to do that, don't we? It's what's expected of us. How I can't give up. I can't be seen as I'm weak and I can't cope. So we just push through it and we don't ask for help. So it's being able to be vulnerable enough to acknowledge that I'm feeling overwhelmed and also to pause and utilize support around you through either reaching out to people, through creating that space that I mentioned earlier, just resetting and honestly having people around to speak to openly. For me, it's been a revelation, without having to pretend I'm the best parent ever or I'm coping. Just being vulnerable has been quite really important.
how did you
Yes,
find
yes.
that support, and how do you nurture those relationships to make sure, because all relationships are have like require work, and so I imagine that you have to put some work into keeping that support available to you.
I can't answer that question without acknowledging the male element. I think for many men, we're raised to believe that being strong means coping quietly. You just get on with things. You carry the pressure. You don't really talk. You don't really need to talk about your feelings or emotions. Over time, I've realized that obviously that approach is not sustainable. And the real strength, to be honest, it's come from being able to allow yourself to acknowledge and say, I need support. Not all the time, but the times when you need it, it's acknowledged. So that for me has been something that I've learned over the years to be much more vulnerable. I wouldn't naturally open up and talk about my own challenges that I faced with my son. I remember doing podcasts. If you listen to my podcast, the first episodes, I was bottling it up and someone would be telling me something and I was like, actually, no, I don't want to be vulnerable. And I felt like I don't want to be seen as weak or oh, people are going to think of me differently. But later on, I can't remember exactly the turning point, but I was like, Archie, I think people you will connect with more people if you just open up and just be true and be vulnerable about what I've been going through with my own personal experience and with my son. So, and that was a turning point. I've heard people since I've done that who've reached out and said to me, wow, we didn't realize that what you were going through or your son and what everything that you described in the podcast. And that connection, it kind of made me think, gosh, as much as I was vulnerable in the moment and worried about repercussions of me being seen as weak and all of that, it actually had the positive, the opposite effect. So yeah, so I mean, to answer what you're saying, Hannah, as well, for me, support is through like trusted friendships, having those meaningful conversations. And typically, I know as guys, when we get together, particularly, we don't usually open up about just checking in, just saying, how's your day going? Or how are things? How are you feeling emotionally? I mean, you don't have to mention the word emotionally, but just saying, how are you? I think it says a lot. But then if I think about my friendship network, it's there are a select few of people that I can have those conversations with. And then there are others that I know, yeah,
Yeah.
it might create a bit of an awkward situation if I was to start opening up about my feelings. And those are the barriers that I'm trying to break through. That's why I will share things through my social media that people can see. Of like, for example, if you
Yeah.
had a clip of me just saying what I'm saying, I'm talking about now, and I share it to my media, hopefully it's going to be an eye opener to another friend or a person who might be struggling and feeling that they can't reach out or open up to anyone. So that's it's the small gains that I try and do to try and I mean benefit for myself and but at the same time reach out to other people out there that might be also struggling or bottling up
Yeah, I mean,
everything up,
I
the
love
emotions and
everything that you
feelings.
just said, and that's why, like, our tagline is stories and
Yes.
science for people in progress, and that's why, like, why we wanted to bring you on, and why we're bringing other people on that want to share their stories. We can be vulnerable in a way that feels comfortable to us, and then that can give permission.
Hmm.
Somehow, it gives permission to other people to be like, wait a second,
Mm,
I can do this too. So, yeah, yeah. I know I
Yes. Yes.
experienced
yeah.
similar sort of feelings about that vulnerability, uh, starting off doing the webinars that I used to host and the Focus Forward podcast. And I noticed over time, like finally I was like, I'm just gonna, I mean, I don't share everything, right? I mean, but but I was getting the same kind of feedback. Like people appreciate that. It gives people permission to think, oh, wait, is this my experience too? So I love that, Archie. Good job. And I love hearing about
Right.
like your
Yes.
transformation
Yes.
from someone who felt like he needed to hide it to someone who is sharing it in a very
Yeah.
useful, productive way. And it's
Yeah.
what's neat is that you have like not everybody has that. Not everybody has this evidence. Like they might be like, well, I remember, I used to hide this and now I don't. But you actually have like proof of that. You have the podcast
Right.
episodes to say, like, oh, yeah,
Yes.
I remember when I recorded this. I was really wanting
Yeah.
to say something, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I think some of that is through our own professional, how we were taught and trained, and certainly it was all about
Yes, of
the other
course.
person, it's all about the client, not about you. So if you think in fields when people train, whether you're a psychiatrist, counselor, therapist, or whatever, you are told and trained in that it's not all about you. You shouldn't share your personal whatever. So I think I come from that school, old school of way of looking at things that you bottle it in, you can't share your personal issues. Whereas now things have evolved. We've got podcasts, we've got all of these avenues where people can speak freely about and being vulnerable. And I think it's a beautiful space to be in now compared to how it felt quite standoffish before.
Archie, what about like cultural impacts for you?
I mean, we can break down all the stigmas and the perception of society as a whole, but then you break it down into what you just said there in terms of certain cultures, my cultures, in terms of them being able to be more understanding and aware, not just neurodiversity, but just mental health. I mean, this all happens in other cultures as well, I'm sure, but it's, yeah, I mean, from what you're saying, personally, from my own personal culture, the stigmas are still there when we don't talk about emotions generally, we don't talk about feelings, we don't talk about anything that's linked with mental health or that's seen as different or that's seen as a brain-based condition. It's usually viewed in a different way of, okay, now we don't believe in that. It's more a westernized thing, which again, which isn't true because obviously the research, we know what the research say, and it's a medical condition. So, I mean, those barriers I've had to navigate through. I mean,
Yeah,
before I had my
right.
son, just me working in the field I work in because I work in the neurodiverse and mental health field. Some people raise eyebrows thinking that, okay, you work and support people with mental health needs, and for some certain, not everyone in my family, I don't want to bash them and say they don't believe in mental health, but I've had some people saying comments in terms of their beliefs. They were making their beliefs known that there's no such thing, which makes it harder because if I'm trying, if it, and these some of these people are the ones
Yeah.
actually struggling with some of these issues that we're discussing, and them not even seeing that, okay, as much as you're shying away or not really accepting it and your perception of views is skewed because of your own beliefs and things, but clearly you could see it. It's there in our culture. Clearly, I have family members where they've had long-term mental health issues. Some of them have struggled with them. It could be alcoholism, it could be all sorts. But it's a shame that they
Yeah.
weren't acknowledging and willing to support and seek help to access support that they need. And then you obviously come back to my son. If my son come along, and then similar to what I was just saying in terms of like how perception views. Some of it, I mean, luckily my parents, my sisters, and things have been accepting, but certain other
Yeah.
members of the family, it hasn't been as easy as what I would have thought. And those are some of the barriers that I try and break through. And I don't want to
Yeah.
spoon feed people too much information. So I will post something or I will share if I go to a conference. Okay, what conference did you go to? I might come and say, oh, yeah, guess what? I was in Texas. Or I came onto a podcast talking to you. So I think it's
Yeah.
just try and normalize it as best as you can and leave a leaflet here and there that talks about something. Or if someone is willing to come and sit down and talk to you, at least find out more about what you're going
Yeah.
through, then yeah. But I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it hasn't been easy. And the stigma's there. And hopefully with now we've got social media, we've got the internet, the resources and information is out there. Whether people want to access it, it's a whole different story, isn't it? So
So
yeah.
how, now I'm like just
Yeah.
curious about the cultural aspect of it. How did you interrupt that cycle?
I wouldn't say it started with me, to be fair. uh, can, can go back and think a few uncles of mine that
Mm.
worked in the field, and I think that was the turning point for me. If I think was in my teens, right? And I was trying to navigate life and trying to work out, okay, what's next? What career pathway do I see myself going into? And I tried to all sorts of careers and training and trying to go into this, trying to go into that. And I think then it always gravitated towards I'm a people person. I always wanted to help and talk to people. And then certainly the conversations I was having with my uncle, who was a clinical psychologist at the time, in my early 20s, and that made me
Oh,
realize that was a turning point
oh,
for me, honestly. Him coming to talk to me, sitting down talking to me, his journey, his work, and some of the things we just touched on in
yeah.
terms of our own family and society, how some of the barriers are. That was, to me, was the turning point that spurred me on even more to then go,
Yeah.
okay, all right, let me look into this a bit. So that was a relation from at that point, and I always give him credit. He lives in Italy now, and yeah, we always have those chats. He used to tell me about the stories because he worked in an inpatient unit in the UK, like a
Oh, wow.
secluded, high secure unit with seriously mentally ill patients.
Mm.
Some of the stories were quite scary, but I mean, there was the human element of the brain and how the brain works and how people's emotions, feelings, and how it all ties in, and how we can make a difference in terms of how we can try and support them in terms of mental health. There's different with the psychotherapy, CBT, and all of that. That was fascinating for me. That I mean, it takes a certain person to come into the field that we work in. I don't think anyone can just walk in and say, "Yep, I can do this job." There has to be something about you, doesn't it? So, and
Yes.
that was for me the discovery that came in my late teens into the early 20s that I thought, yeah. So yeah, I'd love to take credit for my family.
It was
So
your
yeah,
uncle.
I'm the one who interrupted the board.
Shout out to Uncle.
To my uncle.
Archie, thank you so much for sharing that about the impact your Uncle Ian had on you. And, you know, you do the same thing for other people, supporting people with ADHD. So can you talk a little bit about, how you support people with ADHD in terms of helping them maybe overcome that, getting that initial diagnosis? I know can be hard, for many people. I see that in working with clients myself, that it can just be, sometimes it's hard to hear that. So how do you support people through that?
And yeah, the first thing through, I mean, we have to acknowledge that people have gone through journeys to get to where they said, right, okay, I need to get this looked into. So I have so many stories. I mean, I could be here to like for the next 3 hours giving you like stories of how I'm fascinated about when I see someone coming to the clinic and they sit down with me. Some of them have only just discovered ADHD. They feel quite like it's like an epiphany, like, gosh, I never knew there was something called ADHD. And they come across it by chance. Those stories to me, it's just fascinating me. And it spurs me on to just get into this mode of like, Archie, right, this is like, for me, it's like music to my ears. I'm faced with someone who is new to the ADHD space. They just want to absorb and just learn more about and understanding how their brain works and understand about what support they can utilize in terms of managing some of these challenges that they have. So for me, again, it's just about acknowledging their journey of what they've been through and realizing that they've taken this step to get to where they got to. For some, it's been through something significantly has happened where they could be dismissed from a job, or a relationship is broken down, or something, sometimes crime or all of that. And sometimes it could be, you could see that they're heading towards a certain direction, and luckily it took someone else to sort of say to them, I think we need to get this looked into. So how I support them is just through talking. I mean, just to try and get them to understand about how their brain works, because I think it's key, understanding how ADHD presents, understanding and trying to separate ADHD from themselves, because some of them personalize it too much on, this is me, that's just who I am. I'm not, they label themselves too much. I'm a bad person. I'm not good at anything. And you hear this constant negativity. And some of these things, they've heard people tell them that, haven't they? So when you grow up being told that you can't achieve anything, this is you're going to be a failure, you internalize it. And that's usually, you can hear it when it comes up through some of the conversations that I have with them. So as I was mentioning, that it's trying to separate the two of, okay, this is how ADHD presents. And ADHD, yes, it can also bring some challenges, but at the same time, it can also bring some strengths, and try to get them to acknowledge and realize some of the strengths that come with the ADHD, rather than just focusing on the negative. So it's trying to change that sort of narrative, really. And then obviously, so we call that psychoeducation, really, as you know.
Yeah.
And then obviously, once they've had the diagnosis, some of them is about trying to get them to understand that it's a journey that they're going through. They're just at the beginning of their journey, and they'll come through turbulent stages where sometimes it could be regrets, it could be remorse, it could be anger, frustration, and just them getting them to realize that it's all part of and parcel of just them trying to navigate through their stages of having been diagnosed and going forward with it before you even actually reach to the stage where you start talking about treatment. I think it's, as I was saying about the word peace earlier, it's about making peace and accepting your diagnosis and accepting that, okay, this is what I have. How can I move on with my life with ADHD alongside me? And you can work,
Yeah.
we can work on the ADHD. I mean, it's a journey. Those people that actually want to pursue things like medication, fair enough. We do prescribe medication, and I'm a prescribing clinician myself. I always tell them that medication, yes, it does play a part. Certainly when you think about what we're discussing today with happiness and things, it can create that. It's not going to make you happy directly, but it can reduce some of the barriers that can make your everyday life exhausting. So people often describe, sorry,
It's just so
I think you're
funny.
about to say something.
I was just going to say it so is. But the irony of this all is that as you're talking, I'm
Yeah.
just realizing I forgot to take my ADHD
Mhm.
meds this morning, which may be why I just interrupted you.
Okay, fair enough. We
Oh no.
we we can edit that bit then.
We probably leave that in.
You can leave it in there.
I might actually just pop over and get them.
Um,
All right, you keep
Yeah,
going.
go
I'll be
for
right
it, Hannah.
back.
Whatever you
Right.
need. Okay. Sorry.
So what was I saying? Yeah, so
Medication.
medication, yeah. So yeah,
Mhm.
when medication is prescribed appropriately, it can really, really have a positive impact on the individual's quality of life. It's not that the medication creates happiness directly. It's more that it can reduce some of the barriers that make
Mm.
life exhausting. So people often describe feeling sort of calmer mentally. Some of them describe being able to focus, being able to regulate their emotions better, complete tasks or reduce that feeling of sense of urgency, of overwhelmness. And naturally, when all of those things improve, your confidence and your well-being often improve as well. So, and naturally, that happiness, excitement feeling is created from that. But obviously, medication, I have to say that it's not a magic fix. It works alongside other support, lifestyle changes, and practical strategies as well. So it's a
Yeah.
whole host of things to look at.
Yeah, Archie, can you talk a little bit about like those specific, are there any specific tools and strategies that you like have seen to be most helpful?
Okay. Best strategies usually are practical, I mean, realistic rather than overly complicated. And I've seen people come to me saying, like, I'm using this and I've tried this to manage my ADHD. I mean, I feel some of these things is it could be individualized. For some people, it can work. For some people, they don't like using diaries and lists and all of that.
Mhm.
So I feel you can try. I mean, that's where the coaching works. If you have a good coach who can sit down with you and try to understand how your brain works and use your brain to your advantage, and you can personalize a nice plan of how of some of the things that we're discussing today. So, I mean, I'm just giving you a general sense of some of the strategies that
Yeah.
most people with ADHD find. So, and this is not saying that everyone is going to find it beneficial, but things like routines, having a clear structure, visual reminders. Some people prefer having visual reminders, opportunities for movement. So if you're working, sitting down for quite a period of time, getting up, doing
Mhm.
something, that constant movement helps as well. When you talk about lifestyle, we're talking about good sleep, having a good eating pattern as well. Reducing overwhelm, so trying to understand where you're overwhelmed, what usually overwhelms you. We were
Mm.
discussing about parenting earlier, so that could be one of the many. So trying
Yeah.
to look at how can I try and prioritize my needs? If how can I reduce the overwhelmness? Breaking tasks into smaller steps, that can also help some people. If you know you're dealing with a big chunk of things that you have to do, and also give yourself grace. I think that's key. No, don't be hard on yourself. Use external support if it's friends, if it's colleagues, if it's a professional coach, a therapist, or other professionals. Also helps, makes a huge difference. But I mean, but honestly, I think the most important thing is self-compassion, because we can
Yeah.
implement all of the things I mentioned there. If you don't have self-compassion, it can make it harder for you to actually take a step to create a routine, create a structure. So
Mhm.
many people are ADHD themselves. They find that it's hard to, they'll come to us and say, "No, I've tried this, I've tried that." But I mean, it starts with yourself. If you're hard on yourself, and you actually maybe sometimes you haven't actually made peace with the diagnosis itself, it can be harder for you to actually make progress and utilize the support that I've just outlined there. I'll maybe add something on resources as well. So I would encourage people to look at evidence-based resources and support, and that can be hard, particularly when you have internet and you have social media. Just do your research. If it's a website or company or anyone that's posting something on social media, just do some research on that. Um, Podcasts like what we do now, very
Mhm.
helpful resource as well. Reading books, ADHD coaching, we talked about that. Therapy, psychoeducation, support groups. Now we have international support groups. So whereas before it was all down to your community, wasn't it? Whereas now Hannah could be running a support group where in us in the UK we can also access it, and that's the beauty of it,
Oh,
that you
yeah.
can You can access support groups either in person or virtually. And then, yeah, but I would say be
Absolutely.
selective in terms of what you consume online.
Hmm.
I would take the content out there, but there's a lot of misinformation and comparison culture and people who are influencers who just want to do it for
Right.
their own benefits, not thinking
Yeah.
about others. So
Okay, so what does happiness mean for you right now? Like, what's your personal definition of it? Not like in the dictionary, but we're collecting definitions of happiness.
for me, I would say it's a lot simpler than what I thought it would be. I think it's not really about chasing status, money, constantly achieving the next thing and the next thing. I mean, happiness now looks like, for me, it's peace of mind. It looks like a balance. It's just being at a balance. It looks like being emotionally present with people that I love and care about, family, friends, my children. I mean, as a dad, some of the happiest moments for me, they actually the quiet moments. So just spending time, whether we do something fun, laughing, joking, going for a bike ride, going for a walk, sitting down watching a film, and seeing my children thrive and them having that space of just feeling content with themselves without them feeling like the world is up against. And so that's why sometimes society can make you feel that way, can't it? It makes you feel like I'm not doing enough. And I feel that contentment it's key. If you just feel content and you can just accept with what you have and where you are and feeling understood, it plays a key part as well. I mean, happiness comes with from different directions. I was thinking when I heard about your podcast, it made me think a lot about this, and I was thinking, gosh, people have different definitions of the word happiness, isn't it? And it comes from different directions. So for one person, it could be something materialistic. It could be, right, okay, I'm buying a new car and buying a new house. For another person, it could be just about being able to wake up in the morning and it's a nice day and you're having a coffee and you just feel present and you just like in the zone and just that that that's still happiness. But I feel sometimes it could be skewed because based on everything that we just some of it that we've discussed today. So I mean, it's very subjective, isn't it? But overall, I mean, it's about for me definitely it's connecting with people I care about. It's having a purpose, particularly the work that I do. It's about being emotionally present rather than being constantly rushing and getting the next thing and the next
Yeah.
thing. And also accepting myself, my strengths, my flaws, my challenges, without constantly
Yeah,
feeling like I
great.
need to prove my worth.
All right. So, Archie, we like to end by asking our guests to choose one question. So, your options are to share something that has been hard for you lately, something that you are looking forward to, or something you are still working on. So, which one would you like to answer?
I would say something I'm looking forward to.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I'll go for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, we've got a holiday planned, so we're going to Portugal in the summer. So my kids are so excited, and what I'm mostly looking forward to, it's one of those places where it's I've been eyeing it out for the last year, right? And they had one space at the accommodation where we're staying, and we booked it literally like that was the last room that we got. It's in the Algarve, summer in Portugal. It's beautiful. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, and I think it's going to be a good time to just reset and just switch off from everything else. And yeah, so that's the top of my list.
I am also looking forward to things.
Yeah.
I love May and June, but they are so busy with school, kids school stuff, and so I really
Hmm.
don't want to wish away time because I really try not to wish away time, and I am also looking forward to a little bit of I don't know, like less exams and bonfires and concerts. So many concerts.
Yeah.
Both of my kids play instruments in multiple orchestras. So many
Yeah.
concerts. So so I'm looking
Oh,
forward to like a little bit of quieterness. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What about you, Amy?
I'm going to carry on with the theme of what we're looking forward to here. this may sound silly, but I am so excited about the weather where I am right now. I am looking forward to being able to set up and work out on my porch pretty soon once the pollen settles down, just getting time outside. So I'm super excited about that.
Archie, thank you
Yeah.
so much. This is so great.
Archie, thank you. It was great to talk with you.
Great to see you guys, and yeah, I was so excited, and hopefully it resonates with people that everything that we talked about today. I'm sure you add my contact details in your podcast description as well, if you need to reach out to me. Which is, if you want to find out more about myself, the podcast is the ADHD Care podcast. If you want to reach out to us directly on our social media, just search for ADHD Care Ltd. So just at ADHD Care Ltd. That's on Facebook, on Instagram, and on TikTok. Or you can search for the ADHD Care podcast on all the other social media platforms as well. The website is adhdcare.co.uk. There's lots of resources on there, by the way. I'll still send you a link with some information, but if you go onto the website, there's a whole resource section.
All right.
Right.
Thanks,
Nice to
Archie.
see you guys. Take care. Have a good
All
day.
right.
See you
Thanks, you
later.
too. All
Bye.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye then.
Hannah, that was so great. I so loved listening and talking with Archie. He's amazing. It really hit home with me, just him talking about, how he starts with like psychoeducation, and helping people, work towards, that self-acceptance as well. Just loved hearing him talk about that and learn from him. What did you think?
Yeah. I when he and I spoke before, we talked a little bit about how how important it has been for him to connect with others, but it was really neat to hear him a couple of years later, and kind of hearing about like his journey through that discovery of what he needs. And so it was just really great to kind of revisit the topic a little bit and then hear him go a little deeper on it. I also really loved hearing him talk about his like cultural experience with neurodivergence and mental health. And I think that's so important to consider, because everybody that we work with, everybody that we encounter every day is coming from a different cultural experience, whether even if they're like Archie's from England, so we have that, but then also like his, like the family culture that he grew up in is definitely different from mine and from yours, and even yours and mine are different from each other. Yeah. And so it's just such a good reminder that everybody that we interact with, whether they're a client or just somebody on the street, they're coming from something that you don't necessarily really understand, or you might understand it from personal experience, but it still is so important to connect with others and share.
It really is important to always keep that in mind with other people, or interacting with other people.
Yeah. And it's hard to like remember that in the moment, right? So I think like getting exposed more and more to different people's perspectives is always helpful. So I'm so glad that we were able to offer that today.
Yes. Yeah. That cognitive flexibility piece coming back
That's
again.
right.
So,
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. And be sure to check out the show notes for more information. You can also find Archie's website there and resources, and also the podcast links to the other episodes featuring Archie and Hannah.
Yeah. And as always, just a reminder that this podcast is not a substitute for professional mental health support. Please take care of yourself and reach out if you need help from a qualified licensed provider. And we'd love to hear from you, so reach out to us. For now, you can email us at hello@icanbehappier.com and visit our website at icanbehappier.com. All right. Thanks, everybody. And now, for those of you who hung around till the end, here's a blooper. You guys ready?
Yeah.
My hands smell like peanut butter, by the way. I just realized I just had like apples and peanut butter, and I'm like, oh, I smell like peanut butter.